This is the longer companion video to go alongside the short demo I'm about to record. In this one, I'll go over all the various features of the program more in detail. So, let's see. The core principle behind the program is to provide speech to text to speech with a couple of providers. I don't actually have any real providers for the text to speech beyond ElevenLabs, mainly because there isn't really anyone that provides the quality required. Uh, there is an issue on the GitHub page for this tool requesting tortoise, but it still seems fairly slow. And the entire point of this is to have the latency be as small as possible. So I'm sticking with ElevenLabs as the main TTS for now. On the initial page, you can choose the output device to which the synthesized voice will be output to. So for example, I'll do a VB audio cable, which you can use, for example, to output the synthesized voice to a chat app like, say, Discord. Then you can choose a provider for the speech recognition. You've got Vosk, you've got Whisper, and you've got Azure. Whisper can both be used locally through the faster Whisper implementation, which is actually consumes less VRAM and runs a lot faster compared to the normal OpenAI Whisper. Or you can use OpenAI's own API, which is paid. If you can run it, I would say your best bet is to use Whisper locally. You don't really need to run the large model because it's also the slowest. I would say stick to small or medium maybe if you were speaking languages other than English. Otherwise, the small English model should be more than good enough. If you can't run Whisper locally, I would actually say to use Azure, as that includes 5 free hours each month of speech recognition. And in terms of text to speech, you've got ElevenLabs. Let's take Azure, for example. Once you confirm, you will then be asked if you want to enable the OBS integration. So basically what this does is it will take the text and will output it to a text object in the current OBS scene if you have OBS running. I will enable it as, of course, I am recording this using OBS. And it will ask you which item you would like to use. For this example, it's text GDI plus. This is the config for the translation. So the way the program works is it will read your input, then translate it using whatever engine you want. So either Google Translate or DeepL, and it will translate it into your chosen output language. In this case, the output languages are limited to the ones supported by ElevenLabs' own multilingual model. Keep in mind the translation is only going to happen if you're not speaking that language. So if you set the output language to German and you are speaking German, it won't be translated, of course. So for now, let's say, sure, let's do Italian output, and I will speak English to showcase the translation. And let's set the translation engine to DeepL. These are the settings. You've got your API key, your service region, and then here you can choose the input device through which you will be speaking. For example, I'll pick my microphone. This is the setting you need to enable if you're going to be speaking languages that aren't English, as Azure doesn't do automatic language detection, or rather it does, but you have to specify a list of languages it can pick from. For example, we'll do confirm, and it will pop up this window asking if I would like to see the list of supported languages. I'll say no. And I already have it set up so that it's Italian and English. Here are the settings for ElevenLabs itself. Got your API key, your stability, your clarity, and then your latency optimization level. I would recommend leaving it at 1, but if you really need extra, as little latency as possible, I would say don't go any higher than 3. As 4 disables the text normalizer, which, as it says right there, means it might mispronounce numbers and dates. Let's hit confirm for now. And once it's done loading, it will pop up this UI window asking which voice out of the ones available to your account you would like to use for the output. Just hit confirm. Let's use the default Rachel voice. Let's hit OK. And now it's it output recognition started to the console. I have it cropped so you can't actually see it. But now that I'm speaking, there you go. And you can see the text output right there. I actually put it lower. Yeah, that's about it. I'll show what briefly. I'll go over all the other options available for speech recognition. So for example, let's go for Whisper. This is still the OBS subtitle integration. Still going for DeepL, still going for Italian. Let's go for running Whisper locally through faster Whisper. As you can see, these are the various settings. You've got your input device, whether or not you'd like to run the local model or use the API, how much silence you need for the end of a sentence, and what the loudness threshold you want is. This is going to depend based on your microphone, so you might have to change this. And here are the settings for running it locally, listing all the VRAM requirements for each model. We will enable the non-English language recognition in this case. So let's hit OK. Here, this is the multilingual config. You can either do automatic language detection, or you can manually specify language. This helps in cases where you are speaking a language that is somewhat similar to another one, and it might get confused. We don't need it for now, so let's just hit a confirm. This is the same as before. And it will work just the same as it did before using Azure, only it's running locally.
E funzionerà come prima, utilizzando un servizio. Solo che viene eseguito localmente.
Now let's go over the last option, which is Vosk. This one I would recommend if you can't handle Whisper, like if your computer can't handle Whisper. Speaking of which, I would only really recommend Whisper if you have an NVIDIA capable GPU, the local version I mean, and you can use CUDA acceleration, otherwise it is pretty slow. If you can't, Vosk is a decent alternative. The number of supported languages is fairly small, and it doesn't normally handle punctuation and casing, but there is support for recase punc, which is a separate model which is capable of doing that. So here we go. You've got your input device. Once again, I'll set it to my microphone. You've got the Vosk model you would like to use. The ones that have download in brackets are going to be downloaded automatically. For now, let's pick the ENUS model. And the language you will be speaking is EN, because of course. Hit OK, and it will download it. I will cut the download. So, see you in a moment. Since this is just a demo, I actually end up switching to the EN small model, which is much smaller and much easier to run, but it can be fairly inaccurate. Here, these are the settings for recase punc, which is the separate model which handles casing and punctuation, which is necessary because ElevenLabs can produce a better TTS output if it's properly punctuated and with proper casing. So we will select the appropriate recase punc model. In this case, we'll go for the English one. We'll hit enable recase punc, and the download will start. Well, now that the download is done, Here's an example of what the speech recognition is like when using Vosk, though do keep in mind that since I'm using the small model, it's going to be fairly inaccurate.
Hier ist ein Beispiel dafür, wie die Spracherkennung bei der Verwendung von Vosk aussieht. Denken Sie daran, dass es ziemlich ungenau sein wird, da ich dieses kleine Modell verwende.